Gareth Bale was one of a kind. His unbelievable dribbles and knuckleball free kicks had fans on the edge of their seats, and when it came to the biggest of games, Bale didn't just score any goals, he scored some of the most clutch wonder goals in football history. Bale was the definition of a game changer. He led his country to their best ever tournament finish, lifted the Champions League 5 times, and scored perhaps the best ever goal in a Champions League final. But believe it or not, there are still some who doubted his commitment and professionalism with a career full of controversy. So the question remains, how good was Gareth Bale actually?
We're in the box waiting for the cross, and it was Bale! Gareth Bale lights up the Copa del Rey final!
Bale made his professional debut at the age of just 16, becoming the second youngest ever footballer to play for his first club, Southampton. So even at this age, big things were expected of him. But while fans of Gareth Bale remember his incredible goals and assists, Bale actually began his career at left back. The Cardiff-born teenager made his Southampton debut against Millwall at the end of the 2005-2006 season, giving Saints fans a teaser of what was to come next. He'd been so good as a teenager that his school teacher banned him from using his left foot or having more than one touch at a time. And boy, was he fast, running the 100 meters in 11.4 seconds at the age of 14. A proud Welshman, Bale's hero growing up was the Manchester United winger Ryan Giggs. But it didn't take long before Bale too was wearing the red shirts of the Welsh Dragons, as after just 2 games for Southampton, Wales called him up to the national team, making Bale his youngest country's ever player at the time, aged just 16 years and 315 days. And in that debut match, he even got an assist, helping Wales get a 2-1 victory over Trinidad and Tobago. So, the next season, Southampton fans were eager to see whether Bale was worth the hype, and Bale really made a name for himself on the South Coast when in the opening game of the next season against Derby County, Bale backed himself over his older teammates and took a free kick from 30 yards out, which curled into the net for his first professional goal. And we'll be seeing plenty of stunning goals from free kicks over the course of his career. But Saints fans didn't have to wait long for his next one, as he scored again from a free kick in the very next game. And that season, Bale played 43 games in total for the Saints, a huge number for a 17-year-old, and scored 5 goals as Southampton reached the championship playoffs. But an injury in the first playoff match cut his playoffs short, as Southampton lost to Derby County. But by this point, every club in England wanted Bale, as both Arsenal and Manchester United were linked with the teenage sensation. But with just a year left on his contract and Southampton in financial disarray, Bale was available for a cut price fee of £10 million after add-ons. So it's no wonder that Tottenham Hotspur placed a bid for him. And Bale felt Spurs was a place where he could get time to develop, saying later in his career that the best thing I ever did was move to Tottenham. But things didn't go to plan straight away at White Hart Lane, as Bale spent most of his first season at Spurs in the physio's room, picking up an injury on his debut, and then in December tearing his ankle ligament in a game against Birmingham in what turned out to be a season-ending injury. So that first year at Spurs, Bale played just 8 Premier League games, mainly at left back, and injuries would be something that hampered him all his career. But even when he returned from injury the next season, Bale struggled to make an impact at Tottenham, who failed to win any of their 8 opening Premier League games. And in that 8th game, Bale got sent off against Stoke City, and after that, he mainly found himself on the substitutes bench, as Spurs boss Harry Redknapp preferred the informed Benoit Souakoto over Bale. So that winter, Gareth Bale looked to be on his way out the door with Nottingham Forest and Birmingham City, hoping to sign him for less than £3 million. But just as Bale's Premier League career looked to be over, Souakoto got injured, and Spurs decided to keep Bale, who stayed to fight for his place in the team. But he still only made 3 more appearances that season, and surgery for a knee injury would keep him out for the start of the 2009-10 season too. And incredibly, at this point, Bale was yet to win a Premier League match with Tottenham, and fans were starting to think he was an omen of bad luck, as he had actually set a record for the longest run of matches of any Premier League player without being on the winning side. And pundits were even joking that if his name was on the team sheet, you knew the Lily Whites wouldn't win. But that finally changed as he came on in the final minutes of a comfortable 5-0 win against Burnley, and then injuries to other players meant Redknapp gave Bale a chance to show what he could do, and he got a consistent run in the squad, and that's all he needed, as Spurs' results started to improve, and Bale himself won the Premier League Player of the Month award as Spurs qualified for the Champions League. And manager Harry Redknapp was full of praise, saying his game had gone up so many levels that season. But with the impressive Asu Ekoto returning from injury, Redknapp couldn't fit in Bale in the starting 11, so he decided that instead of playing Bale as a left back, he would use the Welshman as a winger instead. And this turned out to be one of the most genius tactical moves of Redknapp's entire career, as Bale evolved from an error-prone forward-thinking defender into an unstoppable beast of an attacker with lightning pace and unstoppable dribbling skills that allowed him to change the course of the game all by himself. And if there's a single match that defines the now 21-year-old Bale's coming of age, it was the match against Inter Milan at the famous San Siro Stadium, where Spurs found themselves down to 10 men after their goalkeeper was sent off, and Inter Milan were 4-0 up after 35 minutes. But Bale didn't know when to quit, and in the second half, the Welsh Cyclone picked up the ball on the edge of his own penalty area and turned on the turbochargers, running past Maicon, past Zanetti, and all the way to the other end of the pitch, where he guided the ball past Julio Cesar to make the game 4-1. And if you're thinking a wonder goal like that comes up once every blue moon, then imagine the surprise in the San Siro when, later in the game, Bale did exactly the same thing again with another 100-yard sprint past the entire Inter Milan team. And a minute later, Bale would complete his hat-trick. And even though Inter won the game 4-3, all anyone could talk about was the Welsh Cyclone. Bale had announced himself on the world stage. Here was football's next superstar, and that season, he really showed what he could do with 11 goals and 10 assists in all competitions, and performances so good they landed him in the PFA's Premier League Team of the Year. But statistics alone don't capture the excitement that Gareth Bale was bringing to Spurs fans with his incredible runs and unbelievable goals, like this one against Stoke City, where Bale perfectly judges a cross to volley the ball into the net. And the next season, Harry Redknapp's decision to play Bale as a winger really started to pay off, as after a poor start, Spurs went on an incredible run in the league with Bale absolutely central to their success, as Bale enjoyed a purple patch of 3 goals and 5 assists in 6 games. And in January, he netted twice against Wigan to bring his goal tally to 10 for the season, and was named Premier League Player of the Month. His boss described him as a player without a weakness, and if Spurs could keep up their good form, they could even be in the title race. But that good form meant manager Harry Redknapp's name was on the shortlist for the England national team job. But this seemed to destabilize the club, and the wheels fell off in February as Spurs lost game after game and eventually finished 4th. To rub salt in the wound, they missed out on the Champions League as Chelsea were given their spot for winning the trophy that year. So Spurs' best season in years came to nothing, despite Bale banging in 12 goals and grabbing 16 assists. That summer, he had the chance to represent Great Britain at the Olympics, but that choice was not without controversy, as Wales didn't want its footballers playing for a united Great Britain squad, as they thought it could risk their status as an independent national football team. Despite this, Bale was photographed in the Team GB kit and looked like he would be going to the games in London as the team's star player. But just before the Olympics, Bale pulled out of the squad with a back injury. Just a few weeks later, while the Olympics were still going on, Bale played for Tottenham in a preseason tour of the US, and without Bale, Team GB crashed out in the quarterfinals, causing some to suggest that he and Spurs should be sanctioned. But this wasn't the only controversy of his career, as there's plenty of bigger controversies yet to come. That summer, he had a new manager to impress, as Harry Redknapp had been replaced by Andre Villas-Boas, and Bale decided that he was no longer a left back. He shouldn't wear the number 3 shirt that's associated with that position. Instead, he changed his shirt to number 11, and he really showed his attacking talents that season under Villas-Boas. From December, he seemed to score goals every week, including a hat-trick against Aston Villa and 8 goals in 5 games at the start of February, including an absolute stunner in the last minute to beat local rivals West Ham United, as he became the absolute driving force behind this Spurs team. Commentators were starting to talk about him in the same breath as Ronaldo and Messi, as every time he got the ball, you felt something spectacular was about to happen. In Europe, he reminded everyone of his dead ball skills, scoring 2 free kicks in the same game against French side Lyon, and he finished the season as the Premier League standout player, scoring a massive 26 goals and getting 10 assists in all competitions, becoming only the second player ever to win the PFA's Young Player of the Year and Player of the Year awards and the Football Writers Association Player of the Year award all in the same season. But despite his electrifying efforts, Spurs still missed out on the Champions League, and there's no way a player as good as Gareth Bale cannot be playing in football's biggest competition. So it was inevitable that Bale would leave White Hart Lane. And at that point, Bale had his pick of any football team in the world, but it was Real Madrid who decided to make the move for the Welsh superstar, and he wasn't cheap. In fact, Real Madrid ended up paying just over 100 million euros for Bale, which at the time was a world record transfer fee, and was even more than Madrid had paid for Cristiano Ronaldo. So Gareth Bale made the move to Madrid as the club's next superstar, as he joined up with Ronaldo and Karim Benzema to form the attacking trio dubbed the BBC for Bale, Benzema, Cristiano. But injuries meant he had to wait till October before his first full 90 minutes in La Liga. Although for Madrid fans, it was worth the wait, as Bale got 2 goals and 2 assists in a 7-3 thumping of Sevilla. The next month, he started to show the Bernabeu what he was all about, scoring a trademark thumping free kick against Galatasaray and getting his first Real Madrid hat-trick against Valladolid. And he had a penchant for the spectacular, such as this long-range stunner against Elche in February, and in that first season for Madrid, he was absolutely dominant as he notched up 22 goals and 19 assists as the BBC finished the season with 97 goals between them. While some players score clutch goals and some score spectacular goals, Gareth Bale loves to combine the clutch with the spectacular, and he did just that in the Copa del Rey final against Barcelona, sprinting from the halfway line and even going off the pitch to beat the Barcelona defender, then keeping his cool to knock the ball through the keeper's legs for his first trophy for Madrid. But he wouldn't have to wait long for his next trophy, as Real Madrid took on local rivals Atletico in the Champions League final, and with the scores tied 1 apiece after 110 minutes, Bale popped up with a headed goal to give Real the lead, and they went on to win the final and lift the Champions League in Bale's first season at the club. And it wouldn't be the last time he would score a clutch goal in the Champions League final either, and Bale started the following season with an amazing performance in the Super Cup and added 17 more goals to his Real Madrid tally. But that season, despite amassing 92 points, Madrid finished second, and the only other trophy Bale added to his collection was the Club World Cup, where he again scored in the final. And the 15-16 season started off as a bit of a mess for Madrid, as they managed to get disqualified from the Copa del Rey and got battered by Barcelona 4-0 in November, leading to Rafa Benitez getting the sack after just half a season in charge. But it was a tough season for Bale too, as muscle injuries meant he missed 5 out of the first 10 games, and a calf muscle tear kept him out for most of January and February. But when he did play, he delivered the goods, including 4 goals in 1 game against Rayo Vallecano and a hat-trick against Deportivo La Coruña to impress his new manager, Zinedine Zidane. In March, he broke the record for most goals by any British player in La Liga, scoring his 43rd La Liga goal to go above England's Gary Lineker in the all-time scoring charts. Under new manager Zinedine Zidane, Gareth Bale would soon need a new trophy cabinet, as he was about to win trophies galore. In Zidane's first season, Madrid once again reached the Champions League final, and who else would turn up in a clutch than Gareth Bale, who assisted Sergio Ramos for Real's only goal of the game, as Real went on to win in the shootout and give Bale his second Champions League trophy. While Madrid is important to Bale, everyone knows his first love is Wales. But for most of the country's footballing history, Wales has missed out on major tournaments. But in the summer of 2016, Wales would play at the European Championships, and Bale would be their main man, as Wales hoped to prove they weren't just traveling to France to make up the numbers. In the opening match against Slovakia in Bordeaux, Bale smashed in a trademark free kick to make him the first Welshman to score in a major tournament since 1958, and Wales won that game. And Bale then scored another free kick goal in the next match against England. But Wales lost in the final minutes and needed a result against Russia to progress. But Bale scored again in that match, and the Red Dragons won 3-0 to reach the knockout stages. There, they beat Northern Ireland and Belgium to reach the semi-finals of a major tournament for the first time in their history. And despite losing to Portugal, Wales came home as national heroes. But back at Madrid, Bale's injury problems continued, and while 2016 2017 was a bumper season for Real Madrid, who won trophy after trophy. It was stop-start for Bale, who played less than 1,500 minutes in La Liga. First, it was an ankle injury that kept him out all winter. Then, a red card suspension and some minor knocks. Then on his 100th La Liga appearance for Madrid in an El Clasico against Barcelona, he picked up a calf injury that ended his season. That year, the Champions League final was in Bale's hometown of Cardiff, and Bale was not going to miss that, so somehow he managed to get himself fit enough to come on as a substitute in the final 13 minutes of a comfortable 4-1 win over Juventus so he could celebrate the Champions League in front of his hometown fans. And although his calf would continue to play up in the 17-18 season, he was back to his goal-scoring best in the latter half of the season with 21 goals and 7 assists in all competitions, including an absolute scorcher in El Clasico against Barcelona, curling the ball beautifully into the top corner. But the best was yet to come, as Real Madrid once again made the Champions League final, and in their way stood Liverpool. But Bale started the match on the bench as Benzema got the opener for Madrid and Sadio Mane equalized for Liverpool. Now was the time for a clutch player to get that all-important next goal. So Zidane brought Gareth Bale on in the 61st minute, and he had only been on the pitch for 2 minutes when Bale saw Marcelo's cross was going behind him, and then he leapt in the air to perform a perfect bicycle kick and score possibly the greatest goal ever scored in a Champions League final. I mean, this goal took everyone's breath away. There was just no stopping it, and as we said, Bale is that player who combines clutch and spectacular, and he went on to score a second goal to finish the game off and was named man of the match as he won his 4th Champions League. But that summer, BBC was broken up. Ronaldo left for Juventus, and Zidane was replaced by Julen Lopetegui, and those changes really hit Madrid's momentum in the 18-19 season, being called one of the worst seasons in Real Madrid's modern history. Bale struggled amid the turmoil, and even though he scored his 100th goal for the club, rival fans claimed he made a rude gesture while celebrating, and Bale was lucky to avoid a ban. By the end of the season, he was close to leaving Madrid, as his teammates claimed he didn't fit in because he went to bed at 11 p.m., which in Madrid is considered too early, and he didn't stay out for the team's midnight coffee sessions, and they moaned about his love of golf and had even nicknamed him the golfer, even though Bale himself has later said he didn't actually play golf that much. But by then, the Madrid media had made Bale a scapegoat for all of Real Madrid's woes. So in the summer of 2019, Bale almost moved to Chinese club Jiangsu Suning for a deal worth $1 million a week. But Real Madrid pulled the plug on the deal as they wanted a transfer fee. But to make things worse, Zinedine Zidane, who had returned to the club for a second spell as head coach, said, "We hope he leaves soon," to which Bale's agent labeled Zidane a disgrace and said Zidane didn't want to work with Bale due to clashes in playing style. So, when Wales qualified for the 2020 European Championships, Gareth Bale had one of the most memorable controversies of his career as he celebrated with his Welsh teammates by holding a Welsh flag that read, "Wales, Golf, Madrid," in that order. When Real Madrid saw the images of the banner, they were absolutely furious. But the banner itself came from a quote from a former Real Madrid player criticizing Bale, and his own teammates were calling him the golfer, so what do you expect? By then, playing for Madrid had become a nightmare, with Bale benched from the start of 2020. And despite all of Bale's clutch goals and spectacular free kicks, people were saying he could never be a legend at Real Madrid. So that summer, Bale returned to London to join Tottenham Hotspur on loan, and he showed Real Madrid what they were missing. As, even though he missed a lot of game time through injuries, when he was on the pitch, he was spectacular, and his impressive 11 goals in 20 league appearances and 16 goals in all competitions, including the 200th goal of his career, doesn't tell us the full story, as he actually only played 922 Premier League minutes that season for Spurs, meaning he was scoring goals at a rate that's better than 1 goal every 90 minutes. That's a rate that any striker would kill for. But the next summer, he had to return to Madrid, and although he was back in the starting lineup for the first 3 games of the start of the season, a knee injury and a series of back problems meant he only played 7 matches all season, and at the end of the season, persistent injuries meant he probably should have retired. But he had one more dream he needed to accomplish: playing for Wales at the World Cup. So he joined LAFC in Major League Soccer for 6 months to get himself some game time. But even there he couldn't help but score clutch goals. And when the MLS Championship match went to extra time and LA were down 3-2 to Philadelphia Union, who else but Gareth Bale would score with a header in the 128th minute, the latest goal ever recorded in MLS history, to take the game to penalties, which LAFC won to complete an MLS Cup Supporters Shield double. And then Bale headed off to the World Cup in Qatar on a high as he led out Wales for their first World Cup appearance since 1958 and scored their only goal in Qatar. After the tournament, Bale retired, saying, "I soon realized there was more to life than just football."